welcome to Atchison, Kansas. We are in the most haunted town in all of Kansas. We have several haunted locations here, so if you're looking for a great vacation spot or a place to explore, come on out. Welcome to the Dilgert House. Our house was built in 1881 by Adam Dilgert. He was a German immigrant. He came over from Bavaria with his parents and some of his siblings. He built the house. There are no, what's the word for it? There's no blueprints for our home. Atchison didn't require blueprints until 1900. And also there are no photos of our home from back in the day because Adam Dilgert was a very private man. He was a master stonemason by profession, and he was a Freemason. He was also a little bit of a germaphobe and superstitious in life. And so that might have attributed to the lack of photos that we've been able to find. So you'll notice that our house has one main doorway. This doorway is for the living to enter and exit from. And then you'll see through our dirty siding, sorry we don't have a power washer, there is an outline of a very distinct door. This is known as a coffin door. So Adam Dilgert built the house knowing that multiple generations would live and die within these walls, and he was very much correct. So when people passed away, the coffins were brought through this doorway because, like I mentioned, Adam Dilgert was superstitious. He never wanted the dead to be brought through the same doorway that the living would enter or exit from. So come on inside. All right, so now we've entered into the doorway for the living. You'll see right above me there is a transit window, or known as a breeze-through window. And then at the other end of the hall, the house originally ended where the kitchen begins. There is another transit window / breeze-through window as well. And then there's the original one right above the living room here. Now, Adam Dilgert believed that if he could incorporate fresh air into the home, it would help alleviate his family from becoming sick. Unfortunately, it just didn't quite work that way for the Dilgert family. We do have 6 confirmed deaths for the Dilgert family in our home, and all 6 funerals actually took place in our bedroom. And we have 9 confirmed spirits that have made contact so far, but we've been given the same number by multiple mediums and multiple psychics, and that number is 21 total. Ready to go into the living room? All right, you'll have to excuse the Chiefs game. We are Chiefs fans in this house. Red Kingdom all the way. All right.
So are we, so it's all right.
The medallion is original to the home. We ran a Google search image to find out what company or what artist made it, and the only image that was returned to us was the realtor listing for the home. We do have the original pocket doors for the home. And then you'll see where the decorative plate is. Every other room has an opening or a concrete slab over it. This is the only decorative plate we have, but all of those coverings are for the coal-burning stoves that would have been in the home to keep the house warm. The chandelier dates to the 1950s, which would have been time period appropriate for one of our resident spirits upstairs. Her name is Bertha Dilgert. And so the main thing of substance that happened in this room is Adam Dilgert was a very heavy drinker in life. So much so that he sustained a leg injury at the limestone quarry where he owned the quarry. And he must have been diabetic and didn't know it. It ended up becoming gangrenous, and they amputated his left lower foot first, and then they had to amputate his left lower leg shortly thereafter. So he did pass away in the basement from gangrene. So that's what happened in the living room. It's a feel-good feeling for when we watch movies like Saw. He died in the basement.
Oh, died in the basement.
But the amputations took place in this room. So now we'll head back to the hallway.
Okay.
All right, so the flooring is original in the hallway. It's the only original floor still left in the hallway.
That holds a lot of energy.
Basement down here too looks good.
Whenever you have the original flooring and everything else, the bricks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that'll hold all the energy in here still.
So this is our master bedroom. This is where we sleep. And you'll see the outline of the coffin door right there. They left the door frame intact. When we first moved in, I honestly thought it was just lazy shelving. And I brought in a historical architect who pointed out the fact that that is a coffin door. And then he asked if the family that built the home was German. And I said, yes, they were. And he said that was a pretty common Germanic practice. And then he made the terrible joke of, I bet you sleep like the dead in here. And he's not wrong. We sleep pretty soundly in here. So right about here would have been where they would have set up the coffins for the viewings. And we do have all the paperwork to substantiate all of our claims. We do not publish anything on our site unless they have the black and white documentation to back it up. So 6 funerals took place in this very bedroom. The first night we moved in, we did see, well, I saw, Moss was asleep, saw a gentleman standing on that side of the doorway. He was a rather portly gentleman. He was about 6 feet tall and a very large man. He was leaning on the door frame. After I found out about his amputations, that makes sense as to why he was leaning. He probably wouldn't have been standing. In life, he was actually 6 feet tall, 300 pounds. So he was a rather large man. So 110% sure that was Mr. Adam Dilgert. When I looked up and saw him, I tried to wake up my husband to tell him that there was a man in the house. He was out. He was my big guy. He'd moved all the heavy stuff, and he'd had like a 6-pack of like 9 proof. He wasn't doing anything. And so I grabbed the baseball bat, because we're from Topeka. That's how we say hi. And when I went to raise the bat up, the light from the window went right through the man. And that's when I realized that it was not a person. I said a lot of obscenities in my head. On the outside, I put on my teacher face. And I was like, oh, hey, how are you? I said, we're the new owners. Everything's okay. You're okay. Looking back on it, I was totally reassuring myself, not him.
Right.
He did, in fact, nod to confirm that he understood what I had said. And then he fizzled into the hall, is the best description I can give. So for the first 3 weeks, I slept pretty terribly because every time I rolled over, I was afraid that there was a man watching us sleep.
I bet.
And then it was quiet for a few weeks. Nothing happened. And then I went to check my mail, and the neighbor across the street, they all talk to us from across the street. They never come in our yard. They don't really knock on our door. She goes, I didn't know you had company. And I said, what are you talking about? Like I'm shouting from across the street. She goes, the lady in the window. And I turned and looked at my own house, and there was a lady in the upper right-hand window when you're looking at the front of our house. She was very beautiful face, black dress, and her hair was pulled up in a white bun. In my research, I would later find out that would be Miss Bertha Dilgert, who actually died in that room. And neighborhood children tell us pretty frequently that they see a lady upstairs.
Was it mostly the family members of the Dilgerts?
Yes.
Just the one that died here?
That's mostly the ones that we have. We have a couple other ghosts that didn't necessarily die here.
Yeah.
They just were so fond of the home in life, or they were tied to the house in some way. So the house seems to kind of hold spirits for some reason. We haven't figured out why just yet. We're hoping to make contact with them and to figure out what's going on. Yeah. So that's the master bedroom. You'll notice that all of our interior walls are made from brick. So we have to run the electrical on the outside. And then you'll see the decorative vent in the floor. And that's because the coal burning stove would have been right here where these covers are. And then it would have vented the heat directly up into one of the bedrooms above us. All right, come on into the dining room. So once again, all interior brick walls, electrical on the outside. Another coal burning stove would have been right behind you there. That one's just kind of left open. Where most Victorian families had just kind of a closet to hold the coal, the Dilgerts actually had an entire room downstairs dedicated as their coal room. So it's pretty impressive. Here we have a corner cabinet. We kind of refer to this as our cabinet of curiosities. An interesting thing about German architecture back in the day is that anything that had a door that could close was taxed as a room. And so there's actually only one original closet in the entire house. And that's because it was never truly a closet, it was always a concealed entranceway. And then upstairs in Bertha's room, you'll see in the floor there's indentations of where another corner built in would have been. So when we open this top cabinet, right in here are things that are kind of linked to the house. So we started digging and cleaning up the backyard, and we found this old side mirror from a Ford truck.
That's cool.
And then when we started digging in the yard, because we had 4 different mediums and 4 different psychics tell us that there was something of interest in the front yard. One thing we've learned since living in a haunted house is there are no such things as coincidences anymore. We don't get that luxury now.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think that we're definitely digging for a child. Another item we found since we've been cleaning up the house, we found this old bottle of laudanum. You can see the crystallization from the sugar from where they would have added sugar to make it more palatable. It still has its original cork. This would have been a bottle of laudanum that Adam Dilgert would have taken, and that would have helped him with the pain from the amputations that he would have sustained before death. So once again, his left foot was amputated, and then later on his left lower leg.
It's pretty cool looking.
We went out to find the home of his brother Ferdinand Dilgert. We found the original foundation, and we actually found the front entrance gate. It still had the letter D on it, D for Dilgert. But then we found this old Woodbury makeup bottle.
That's a makeup bottle?
Yep, it was. Nope, it was in the bushes right by where their front door would have been, and it's Woodbury number 21. And I'm still trying to find a number 21 for sale. Haven't found one yet. And then we have one of our resident ghosts. Her name is Frances Dilgert. She haunts our hallway every night about 3:30 a.m. She'll float down the hall, and the entire hallway will smell like lilac. And so I actually found an advertisement for a lilac perfume. And a gentleman that we gave a tour to actually collected old vintage perfumes and colognes. And after the tour, he actually mailed this to us. So now we have a sample of what Frances would have worn in life, which is pretty cool to have.
You said like 3:30 in the morning, like she'll come through the hallway and it'll smell like that?
It'll smell like lilac almost every night.
That's freaky.
About 3 o'clock, bro.
And then this is the original bottle that her perfume would have came in. And so he was actually kind enough to send us this bottle as well.
That's fire.
And that's pretty neat. We love having this. It was a great gift. Now the last item is in the corner there. It's a small bottle. I'm not going to grab it, and I'm going to explain why, but I will fluoresce it for you. So the previous owner that lived here, she was tied to a lot of practicing pagans, and they created what you call a witch's jar. Now we don't know for sure if it was hers or if it was made by a friend. Either way, when we found this little bottle buried in the side of the yard, we thought it was a little jar of holy water. We thought, oh wow, look, someone was trying to bless the house. It was really sweet. In my defense, whoever made this jar was super hydrated. Because it fluoresces bright green, because it's actually urine in that jar.
Holy snap.
So this is known as a witch's jar, and I call it the no-no snow globe. And it just kind of lives its best life in the back here. I don't need to touch it or grab it. It's just doing its thing. But yes, that was intended for protection for the home and the occupants. And we know that it was more modern because it is a plastic lid. If it had been done back in the day, it would have been a metal lid, which means it would have corroded, and we would just have like urine residue, but not actual a nice little amount of urine.
So that was so done on like earlier on type of thing.
It was done more recent.
Oh.
Now the last thing we found was this coin. It was buried in the yard when we were digging for the body. It says AD on the front, stands for Adam Dilgert. And on the back, it tells you that it's good for one drink at the brewery. And so this is the same brewery where Adam Dilgert was friends with the owners, Zeibold and Hagelin.
Is that brewery?
No, it's just the foundation. It's a private property now. We did get permission from the gentleman that owns it, and he did let us go out there and explore. And that's how we found where Ferdinand lived. Because in the article it said Ferdinand had lived within a few hundred yards of the brewery. See, Adam Dilgert was kind of like the golden child of Atchison, also referred to as the grandfather of Atchison. And the reason why is Adam Dilgert owned the limestone quarry that everyone sourced their limestone from to build the foundations to help homestead Atchison. That's actually the one common denominator that all the haunted houses in Atchison have. They were all built using the limestone from Adam Dilgert's quarry. So it makes you wonder what happened on that land. So Adam Dilgert, they almost renamed Atchison Dilgertville. It would have taken an act of Congress to change the name because the Santa Fe Railroad was already rolling through town. But Adam Dilgert's big fall from grace was the fact that he beat his own brother to death. And we have the autopsy paperwork to prove it, and we have the 3 articles that were featured in the newspaper about it. It was such a huge event that it actually took up the entire front page 3 different days. One of those days was actually Christmas Day. Come on into the bathroom.
It's pretty soon. It's next week.
So the bathroom was renovated to be a bathroom in the 50s. This actually originally was their back porch area. This is where the gentlemen would have came to smoke and drink and just kind of do what gentlemen do. We do have a resident ghost that haunts our bathroom. I have to warn all the men that take tours, including you guys, that we do have a There's no articulate, nice way to phrase it. We have a gentleman that likes to grab butts, and that would be Henry Glatfelder. He has revealed that his name is Henry on several occasions. And I looked up the family tree, and the Glatfelders were one of the 6 families that married into the Dilgert family. And so that makes sense. Henry probably spent a good amount of time here. From what I understand in life, he was kind of a trickster and a prankster, and he was kind of a jovial guy at a lot of parties, and I think involved in a handful of like bar fights. But he will grab your butt while you're doing your thing. For the ladies, he doesn't actually grab the women. He just tousles the shower curtain from the inside to let them know that he's here. If I'm alone at night taking a bubble bath, he'll actually strobe the stained glass light right above us. As you can see, it's not blinking, it's not moving, but there is a video on our Facebook page that shows one of the few occurrences of him strobing the light. Usually when he does that, we ask him yes or no questions. He will strobe for yes, and then he will actually stop the light completely for no. So we have been able to use that as a tool to communicate with Henry when he feels like it. For the most part, he's just a prankster. We like Henry. All right, I'm going to take you out back now.
All right.
So we've had a couple different sensitives and mediums say that we have indigenous spirits out back, specifically a skinwalker. We've been told by several groups. I've never seen it, but you do feel like you're being watched the whole time you're out back. You also feel like you're being watched from the nursery, which are the back windows right there. And that's because we have 2 confirmed deaths upstairs in that room, and then we have 2 more confirmed deaths in the room across the way from it as well. So right here you'll see this lovely flagstone marker. It says S.D. King Mayor in Atchison for 1880s. And we did find out who S.D. King was. He was in fact the mayor of Atchison for a period of time, and he was good friends with Adam Dilgert. So much so that when Adam Dilgert had the court case for the murder of his brother, he was tried. He did have a jury of his peers, but at the end they couldn't figure out a final conclusion. So he was not actually convicted for the murder of his brother. I guess it helps to be friends with the mayor.
Oh, yeah.
So modern day politics aren't that much different than back in the day. You'll see where our shed is here. There's a corner capstone for our foundation, and the foundation stones actually run to the tree and then halfway back on this section. And that's because a lot of Victorian families had like a back hallway for their servants to live in. The Dilgerts actually had a small house built just for their servants. Now the house next to us here was also built by Dilgert family members, and they did have a servant's house where that area there stands. The main difference between their servants and our servants over here, their servants could read and write, so they were registered with the city to receive mail. Ours were not. And so having a surname has been kind of difficult in the fact that one of these spirits that haunts our basement is in fact a little boy who was a servant here for the Dilgerts. His name's Benjamin. And he lived back here with his mom, and he refers to the old man, which we've kind of figured out or ascertained that it would have been the gardener for the Dilgerts as well. So they had 3 servants is what we have been told by spirits and spirit box, but I still don't have a surname. So that's one of my many tasks, is to figure that out. You'll see these flagstones going down, these limestone steps. They actually lead down to right here. This is the original retaining wall for the house, and you can see the ruts or furrows where the old wagon wheels would have rolled through down there. So we try not to have people park because we want to maintain the integrity of the marks. So they would have gone down this stair. They would have followed this sidewalk all the way down to the basement, which we uncovered stone steps when we moved in, and all that brick that's underneath as well. So the servants would have had a paved walkway. Now someone made the remark, wow, that was really nice of Adam Dilgert to pave their walkway. Remember, he was kind of OCD and a little bit of a germaphobe. I don't think he really did it to be nice. I think he did it to make sure that they didn't track mud and dirt into his home. And then you can see the circular mark right there. That's where the horse hitch used to be. So I don't know who pulled that out at what time and why, but I'm a little disappointed because it would have been so cool to have the horse hitch still there.
Not for it, that would have been hard.
All right, we're gonna head back inside. We're gonna go upstairs. Like I said, we have 4 confirmed deaths upstairs. In the Victorian era, they would have rooms that were referred to as like the disappointments room or the punishments room. We do unfortunately have one of those rooms here in our home. As we're going up the stairs, you're gonna look to the left on the wall and you're gonna see a window that just kind of floats in the middle of our wall. What that is that was the entranceway to the disappointments room, or what we call the observation window. So if they'd had a kid with special rights, they would have kept those children in there while they had company, especially if they were an affluent family. They didn't want to have kind of like the mar or the stigma of having had a kid that had problems. It just looked bad on them back in the day. Thankfully, we've come a long way since then as far as like acceptance, equity, and equality, but that was not the case in the Victorian times. So come on upstairs. And the upstairs is the main source of the discontentment in our home. So you'll see this window here. And you're like, how is the accessibility? How are we supposed to access this? We do know it is original window because it is single pane, and you can see the original lock here. Now when you open this window,
Oh, that's cool.
it is a whole room inside.
What?
Yep, come on up. You can't go in because we need to put the subflooring in. So please don't try to walk around. You'll fall through and land in our bar or our living room. But you can see the windows on the other side. When they put the siding on, they cut every window out except for those 2 windows. So we're not sure why they didn't cut those 2 windows out. We find that interesting. And we're still trying to find the source for the original door to enter. Moss thinks that they always shove them through the window. I say if they had to discipline the kid or grab the kid, I don't foresee the owners actually crawling through the window themselves. There had to have been a door somewhere up here. We just haven't figured out where because they put so much sheetrock up that they've probably sheetrocked over the original entrance. But we did have someone peek in here and they said that part of the brick, not a very large section, looks like it's much newer than the rest of the brick. And we're thinking it would have just been a very small doorway for a kid to go through. But if the kid had been making noise while they had company, they could, one, look in through the window and observe what the kid was doing. And 2, they could tap on it to get the kid to be quiet. Now, our friend stayed here for 12 weeks in our home. He said sometimes at night he would hear someone tapping on the glass from the inside. Come on up. So our attic space is actually right up here, and it only runs above the 2 bedrooms here. And sometimes that will actually slide and open on its own. We're not sure who's up there or what's up there, but occasionally Moss has to get the chair in the broom and push it back.
You ever been up there?
It's very small. There's not a whole lot up there. But yeah, it's interesting because we're not sure how that opens on its own, because when you lift it, it's actually pretty weighted. You actually have to lift and then push. So something is opening it.
All right.
Come on into the nursery.
Crazy little closet.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
That sounds interesting.
So, from what my research says, this was kind of always the children's room or the nursery. As you can see, definitely 80s kid here. We are trying to have a child, and we have every intention of making this a nursery again. And so I've been hoarding children's books and random little toys here and there. All that's left to do is kind of decorate. Everything that's this interesting butter yellow, we're going to repaint like a Victorian teal blue. And everything that's black, I don't know who decided that was the color to go with. We're going to have to prime the crap out of that.
Yeah.
And then that's going to become like a nice vanilla chai color. And then on that wall there, we're going to paint a Where the Wild Things Are mural, because it'll be a Where the Wild Things Are themed baby room. But this seems to be a lot of the discontentment in the home. The more time you spend in here, the dizzier people become, especially if they're sensitives, mediums, or psychics. Some people have actually thrown up in this room. Other people become very disoriented and they feel like their equilibrium is thrown off. And that's because we have 2 confirmed deaths in this room. The first death that happened in this room was their baby daughter. She was 8 weeks of age. Her name was Maria Magdalena Dilgert, and she passed away in this room. It didn't say cause of death, it just listed a baby 8 weeks of age. The other heavy thing that people pick up on is the death of their 17-year-old daughter, Barbara Dilgert. And she died in this room from meningitis. And so I think that's what a lot of the mediums and psychics are picking up on, is the equilibrium being thrown off because of the swelling of her brain before she passed. We do line our windowsills with salt. We do have obsidian stones. We have the crucifix all the time. We do sage up here typically once a week now. And you can see in the windowsills the flies that are still here. And that's because if you stand here and you look out the window, flies actually fly towards this house, towards this room in the house, year round. Last year we had like a freak storm. It was negative like 30 for a week or something, and we still had flies that were making their way towards the house. We've been told by people that that's a sign of negativity. We've been told by others that that's kind of like a cry for help. There is nothing that is dead or decomping in the walls because we've checked and we would have smelled something. And this has been going on since we've moved in.
Yeah.
So that is a common thing, and you'll see the remnants of the flies. We still don't know how they get in because I've duct taped over the openings, and we even spray foamed in that windowsill, and somehow they're still getting in. So it's interesting that this is the only room in the house that attracts them. Another strange thing is we have this giant piece of metal. It runs from here down to the floor. So I kind of put magnets on it, covered it up a little bit, but we've been told by a couple mediums or psychics that if we remove this metal, that there is something that the house wants us to see to confirm that there were children here. And so that is on our list of things to do when we redo the baby's room. Somebody was like, oh, that's where the chimney used to be. Actually, no, the chimney was right behind you because when you're looking in the dining room, the vent connects and vents up here. So the chimney was actually right there. So we're not sure what the metal is. It's strange to us. Someone said it's actually a conductor. Yeah, my head's starting to hurt now. So, you're okay. As we talked about in German architecture, anything that had a door on it that could close was taxed as a room. This is the only original closet in the home. And you can tell by the door, you can also see there's a lock. If you'll observe, there's no hinge here, there's no doorknob. When we first started giving tours, we actually had two really beautiful, lovely ladies that came in from Iowa. They wanted to just do the tour. And I left them up here just to kind of do their thing. I went down to brew a cup of coffee for them because they were tired. And I heard them screaming from downstairs. So I ran up the stairs, totally ate shit on the stairs. By the time I opened the door, this door flew open. None of this stuff was here yet. And they were both face down on the ground. They were freaked out. They said, you can keep the money, lady. We don't want the rest of the tour. And they dipped. Apparently what had happened is they said they got locked in.
Oh.
But how? This thing does not latch.
Right.
So something was playing with them that day. So if we turn this light on and we open this closet,
It's not that much room in there.
no. And if you look when you're coming up the stairs, there's like that little gap in between. Something doesn't add up. Like no one can really explain the closet or the room in the hallway, right? So what people are saying is that there was actually a small door in this closet that would have connected to the other side of the attic. And so the child would have had to come through an internal door that was locked. Then they would have had to get through this external door. So there were two doors to keep whatever kid that was in there in. And then when you look at it from the outside, you're like, that doesn't add up. Like, how would they get through this part? Well, there's something that's off and no one's been able to figure it out. Like, schematically, it doesn't lay out in the way that people think it does. So what we need to do is have contractors that will, one, actually show up, because all the contractors are afraid of our home. Or they come out to look at something that they're going to repair, and then they just never come back, or they don't call back. Something about the house freaks them out. And we're not the only people that have this issue. The previous owner who had filmed the episode with Steve Shippey, she also went through 8 contractors while she was trying to renovate the home.
Yeah, usually whenever like there's a contractor that comes inside the house, it's because the spirit will not want that person to do any type of renovation.
It would be great if the spirits can send us the person they like, because we need to get some stuff done.
Usually they don't want anyone to mess with anything.
It's going to have to happen eventually. We always ask their permission.
Sometimes it stirs it up.
And they've been very nice about letting us do things, but we really need to figure out where the doorway was to this room, because a lot of the discontentment comes from this house, like in the upstairs area. And if we can figure out what happened, then maybe some of the discontentment would like amp down a little bit.
Right.
But I mean, the flies are pretty concerning. I just looked over there and there was a fly that just flew towards the house again. So something is not right, and we just don't know what it is. And before I put a baby up here, I really need to figure out what the house needs us to know.
Right.
Because at this point in time, I'm not afraid of my home, but I am concerned with leaving a baby up here unattended.
Right.
With flies and weird stuff with the closet and the tapping.
Yeah, that's
It's just a lot. And then you'll feel once we go into the other room, if you had any kind of pressure here in your head, or some people feel like somebody is pressing on their chest, it instantly lifts the moment we go into Bertha's room.
It's making me breathe harder. I breathe
Yes.
hard already, but it's making me breathe a little bit harder, but that's not the only thing.
Like I said, the longer you spend in here, the sicker you get. And I can't in good consciousness put a baby in here until we know what's going on.
Yeah. And you guys check for mold and everything too, right?
There is no mold in our home.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with the electrical because when Group came out with all the little sensors, nothing. So it's energy wise in this room.
Right.
All right, come on into Bertha's room. So don't mind the dollhouse stuff. I've been working on a dollhouse. So this is Bertha's room, and I'll pick all that up before you guys come up here and hang out for the night. We always leave the rocking chair here angled so that she can look out the window. This was that lovely lady I saw. She was the second spirit. And when Moss's grandmother passed away, we actually inherited a lot of her bedroom furniture. And so we just kind of created a room for Bertha. I figured I'd made a room for the nursery, so she needed something too. And people have actually been gifting Bertha quite a few things since we've been doing tours. That wash basin was gifted from one person.
That's nice.
A couple items over here on Bertha's dresser have been gifted. Those dolls in that chair were gifts. Someone gave me the dollhouse. I can renovate it. I'm going to make it a Victorian dollhouse, and it'll stay here in Bertha's room. The bird cage was gifted from Moss's parents. The mirror was gifted. I mean, we've inherited quite a few things just to make a room for Bertha. She seems to be everybody's favorite spirit in the house. Bertha has a very loving, warm energy to her. Even if I'm having a bad day or I don't feel good, I actually just come up here and lay on the floor in Bertha's room, and I always feel better before I leave. The scariest thing in this room is that quarter light switch. I don't know how that thing passed inspection, but it is living its best life, and I don't know what we're going to do one day when we need to replace that thing.
Oh, what? The switch?
Yeah, look how it is. It's like it's inside the wall.
It's barely. What the?
That is the scariest thing in the room. That's what I joked. And then you can see the decorative floor vent. It actually, if you look down there, it goes right to the aquarium in our bedroom.
You can do that.
And so it vents straight up.
Oh, it does.
Now, we talked about Barbara and we talked about Maria in the nursery. The two confirmed deaths we have for this room, and as you can see, that does not set the Okay, thank you, Bertha. Do you think? So you can kind of stomp around and it usually doesn't do anything. If it starts playing on its own, that's just Bertha letting you know that she's watching you. And when I say playing, not just a few notes like that, like it'll start circling and playing completely on its own. And that's just her letting you know that she's watching you.
Well, that's what we're here for. Let her rip.
Oh, yeah. So the two confirmed deaths in this room, you have the death of Mary A. Dilgert, and that was Adam's wife. In life, she ended up getting Bright's disease, which is a really nice way of saying renal failure. And I don't know if it was linked to her kidneys or her liver. Either way, it's renal failure. She ended up contracting double pneumonia after that, and then that's what did her in. So, bless you. Every now and then we hear a lady coughing upstairs. We hear her through the floor vent. And I don't think Mary A. is a haunting in which she is even aware that we're here. I think Mary A. is more of a residual haunting for the house. Much like Francis that haunts our hallway. Francis isn't aware that we're here either. They're just either reliving their best day or their worst day. I'm not sure which one it is. And then the other lady that passed away in this room is Bertha Dilgert. We just call it Bertha's room. Bertha, like Adam, like Benjamin, our other spirits, like Henry, very much aware that we are here, watching us the whole time we're in the room. So if you feel like you're being watched or you feel like you're being soothed, that's usually Bertha Dilgert. So she was married to A.W. Dilgert, which would have been Ferdinand's son. She inherited the house, and when A.W. Dilgert passed away from Landry's paralysis, which is a nice way of saying he had a stroke, out on the family farm. She lived here by herself. And they never had children together, but she did take care of her nephew, Julius Kuhn. Julius Kuhn was born normal and functioning, and he went away to KU to go to school for engineering. And he ended up contracting meningitis. But it didn't kill him like it killed his cousin Barbara. It just rendered him invalid for the duration of his life. So Bertha spent her literal entire life taking care of Julius. Bertha was pretty lonely after her husband died. She did remarry a gentleman named Edward C. Myers, who was 29 years younger than Bertha. They lived together in the house, happily married for about a year. And then Bertha went away to take care of a sick friend. She came back, and her bank account was zeroed out, and all of her jewelry was gone. Edward had ripped her off and then crossed the Missouri state border, and that was it. So shortly after, she sold the family farm to break even to support herself. And then when she died up here at the age of 92, she died from a cerebral hemorrhage. Edward C. Myers came back to claim the remainder of her estate because they were still legally married. So he would later remarry a woman younger than him. They opened a restaurant that had bad reviews in Missouri, and he was hit by a horse and buggy not once but twice. And he also was involved in a car accident. So karma has a way of coming back full round.
Oh yeah, I believe that too.
Now the other spirit you'll encounter up here is actually the spirit of Oliver. That's this little doll right here. And Oliver was purchased.
Spooky looking doll.
This one.
Yes.
Oliver was actually gifted to me from a friend. Her son had purchased him for $1 at a garage sale. And the little boy became obsessed with Oliver, like carried him around, put him in his backpack and took him to school, refused to eat dinner without Oliver being at the table, wanted to take Oliver with him to visit his dad for visitation on weekends. Obviously, Dad looked at Oliver and did not want Oliver in the house. And so I met with her at the Walmart parking lot. She had Oliver in a shoebox and it was taped shut. And she called me up and asked me if I could take it. This was long before we'd ever heard of Atchison or thought about buying the house. I said, what the hell do I know about haunted dolls? And she goes, well, you watch, Supernatural and you read about demonology and occult. And I said, well, yeah, those are things that interest me. Doesn't mean I know jack shit about a doll.
Right.
And she just kind of thrusted the box at me and said, he's your problem now, and then dipped out.
What?
So I opened the shoebox, and that's a face you're not really fully prepared for. And I've had Oliver ever since. He's a very sweet spirit. He sets off... He what?
I said that's a face that a mother will only love.
He sets off EMF readers. He sets off REM pods. I mean, he's very active. Since Bertha never had children, and she has such a loving nature to her, very nurturing, we've put Oliver in here with her, and we actually hear 2 sets of footsteps now running around up here. And we think it's Bertha chasing Oliver, and they're up here playing. But Oliver went downstairs to play with one group, and they failed to bring him back upstairs. Bertha said very clearly for the next tour on Spirit Box, I would like Oliver back, please. Very clearly. We found Oliver in the basement, so we brought him back up. We don't let Oliver leave the room now because it upsets Bertha. And so it's nice to know that the 2 of them are keeping each other company. Now, Oliver does have a weight in the back of his head. So if you pick him up and you lay him down, the eyelids close. And then if you pick him up, the eyelids open. And that's all that Oliver does. So if you catch Oliver looking from side to side, or looking up and down, or blinking on his own, that's just Oliver letting you know that he's aware that you're here. But only a couple people have been able to capture that so far. And then next to him we have a 1905 German Steiff bear. This is made with Angora sheep's fur. It was a really common practice for German Americans that when families had a baby, they would gift the baby with a German Steiff bear. Now, if this guy had been in mint condition, which obviously he's not, he's pretty bald and well loved. If he'd had his tag and his button, he would have resold for $2,500. Because he's so far loved, we bought him for $60 from a thrift store. But I got him to gift to Oliver, since now Oliver's kind of part of the Dilgert family since birth has taken him in. And so all German children deserve a nice Steiff bear, so now Oliver has his own bear.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
A lot of people ask how we deal with living in a haunted house. We find that since we're not afraid of the spirits, we just kind of envelop them into our daily life. We respect them. We listen to them. If they ask for things on Spirit Box, we try to accommodate. Really, we're just the living custodians of the home. It's still the Dilgert House. It's always been the Dilgert House since it was built, and it will always be the Dilgert House because they never left. So we keep that in mind when we respect the integrity and the story of their home. But yeah. Ready to head downstairs?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Ark, you good?
From up here, which is the most like active room?
Both.
Both of them.
Both really active.
Yeah, we ready.
All right, so we are going to head downstairs. As we're heading down the stairs in honor of the previous owner 2 owners ago, please make sure you're holding onto the railing. The gentleman did fall down these stairs. He did break his neck. He laid at the bottom for 3 days before his family found him. He was transported to St. Joe, where he died shortly after arrival.
That's all the way.
So come on down. And we always announce ourselves down here because the spirits down here are nowhere near as friendly as the ones upstairs. So we only have to knock 3 times one time just to, whoa, someone's pushing on the door. Common courtesy just to let them know that yes, we're coming down. We're going to go to the left. There are 4 rooms down here. It smells worse than normal.
Whoa.
Some resistance
Camera
on
turn
the
off.
door.
Camera turned off.
Yeah, that man's camera did literally just turn off. What? What the?
Can you turn it back on?
No,
Try.
It's a brand new battery too.
Like I said, I felt resistance on the door just now.
Yeah, see, 100% on the battery.
Hold on, let me zoom in. That yeah, that does say 100%.
But yeah, put the puppy upstairs.
And I was recording, so.
Moss, can you call Romulus? Go on, baby. Go on. All right. So, is it working again?
Yeah, it's working.
All right. So this is the original kitchen. You can tell by the floral wallpaper and the apples and cherries behind you. This was their kitchen up until the 1950s when they renovated that back porch area. They made half of it kind of into the bathroom and the other half into the kitchen. So you can see where they brought the plastering out to about right here, and then they stopped, and this is because this would have been their cook range wall, so they wouldn't have wanted wallpaper above it because wallpaper was flammable. So when they filled it in with brick here, as you can see. But this is the original limestone wall. You'll see where the grout looks like it's missing or was removed. In all actuality, the grout was never really put there, and that's because Adam Dilgert was so affluent. He actually had his own custom-made kitchen furniture, and they had a little lip on the back of it, so they could insert it just a little bit into the wall for additional support for rolling, cutting, and chopping. It's just pretty ingenious, and you can see how perfectly lined that is. Yeah. And then we have it over here as well, so there would have been bottom cabinets right there.
Sheesh.
Your camera giving you problems?
No, I had just switched the mode because it was kind of hard to focus for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, they're very active today. I don't know what it is. And then, pardon the Halloween and the wedding decorations, but you can see the windowsills are dropped down enough. I like to envision the servants just kind of sitting there, peeling apples or peeling potatoes and just kind of relaxing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Another coal-burning stove would have been right there to keep them warm, in addition to the cook range wall. And then this doorway here is original to the house. Someone closed it off when they put the HVAC in, but we'll see that room from the other side. Now over here, there were 3 major floods in Atchison in the 1950s. I don't remember the exact years, I just know there were 3. And basically, this whole area had flooded under at one point. We do have proof of like old water damage. And when they backfilled the dirt in to build it up, they put this cinder block wall in. You can see it from the outside. And now we have this lovely doorway that leads to nowhere. And so when Moss gives tours, I often ask him, hey, did you lock the door? He'll go to lock it, and then he gets mad because he remembers that 1, it can't lock, and 2, it doesn't make a difference. This window was also blocked off. And then this is the original screen door for the house. You can tell by the crackling of the paint because back in the day they made their paint from lye and ash, and it gives it that beautiful crackled effect over time.
And this is where you said like that path all the way down there,
Yes,
like connected.
we're actually gonna see it right now. So where the grass is, we dug down this far to find the brick underneath. So we know that they backfilled quite a bit of land in here. And there's the cinder block wall from the outside. Now, Adam Dilgert's rock quarry, his limestone quarry, produced two qualities of limestone. One was the interior quality, which you see all throughout the house. The other one is exterior. So if you look at the limestone on the outside here, you'll see all the barnacles and seashells. Because everybody who knows basic science knows that the Midwest was under the ocean for quite a long period of time.
Oh yeah, you can, literally.
Mm-hmm. And then if you follow the brick, you'll see these stairs here at the end. And the stairs actually lead up to a path that goes up to the servants' house. They would have came down at the end of our drive here, and then they would have walked all the way down into work. And then you'll observe that the disappointments room, you can't see the windows from the outside because they covered over them with the siding. But they cut every other window out, so we're still not sure about that. It is very odd.
Just a video of that one.
Oh, of out there? Hold on, let me get that real quick. Actually, yeah, that's.
It's so bizarre.
That is kind of crazy. The whole thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, do aerial shots. I'm cool with that. No one's gonna bother you. And you can kind of close that, but it'll never latch because
Oh,
it's
my
just so old.
goodness.
You just close it the best you can. It's the original hinge, actually.
Yeah, that
the
thing's
handle.
barely there.
Yeah.
Alright. Just close like that?
Yep, that's as good as it gets.
Gotta keep her original.
Well, that's why we locked both the locks here. All right, so this is room 1 out of 4 in the basement. All right, come on through.
1 out of 4 in the basement.
One out
That's
of 4.
crazy. 4 bedrooms in the basement, bro.
So that's blocked off, but you can see all the interior walls are brick. And then you have the interior quality of limestone here and here. And if you look up there, you can see the old wire and knob tubing from when the first electrical was installed for the home. All right, you're going to do one step up. Okay, this is room number 2 in the basement. So this used to be their washroom. This was their bathroom. So all of this would have been plastered over and painted. And then you can see the indentation in the concrete here where they would have had their wash tub. I did find an article at one point that said that there was a child that was very sick here in town. They brought him over to the Dilgerts and, quote, submerged him in the grand bathtub and broke the child's fever and saved his life. So it must have been a hell of a bathtub because it made the news. So, behind you, there would have been a coal burning stove here. And then right about here, there would have been a series of wire hooks, and this would have been for hanging clothes right by the stove to dry them in the winter or if it was raining. There are no signs of settling in the entire basement. The house is 144 years old. The only thing that you can see is this crack here, and that isn't even from settling. It's from when they removed a chunk of it to put in the HVAC. And so still, no signs of settling in our home. Coal burning stove would have been right there.
Is that, it sounds like a swing.
That is the gas line.
Oh, this.
It's the gas meter outside.
Okay, it sounds like a swing, and I was like, what the heck?
Yep.
Like, I don't remember
Yep.
seeing a swing out there.
No, it's just the gas meter. Now this interior wall, there's about this much room, and then there's the exterior wall. So this is double walled down here. This is the only drain in the basement. It does drain out. We just don't know where it goes to. So we try not to dump water down there because I'm worried it's like popping up in our neighbor's basement.
Wow.
And most of the neighborhood doesn't really like us anyway because we were a haunted house. And so we try not to add to that. So when we do mop down here, it's like during the heavy spring rains. So sorry if it's popping up somewhere, but it's totally the rain. If you look up here, you'll see where this insulation is, and you'll see some old newspapers crammed up in there. And so when they were renovating down here, they actually found Adam Dilgert's union-issued cavalry boots and 2 pairs of shoes. And that was a really common Germanic practice to leave shoes in the floorboards or in the walls because it was intended to protect the home and the occupants. Now the previous owner, she was so unnerved by something just grabbed my hair. Unnerved by being down here that
Hopefully I caught that on camera.
she I know, right? She actually bought the home with the intention of retiring here, but she was so afraid of the home she never actually got to live here. And part of that was she invited a German-speaking medium / psychic to come in and do a cleansing ritual for the house. They actually drew a rune there up on the wall here in the white chalk.
Yeah,
And if you watch that episode of Haunted in the Heartland, you'll actually see them actively drawing the rune on the wall. And there used to be one on the floor, but it's gone since we mopped. But she was so desperate to rid herself of the spirits of the house, she actually threw those shoes and boots in the river, supposedly. And that only amped up and escalated the activity. I mean, keep in mind.
Did she not know that it was for protection?
I think she was just trying to get rid of the spirits, honestly.
Yeah, she probably got scared.
It only amped up the activity and it aggravated
she got
them
rid
more.
of the stuff that she would get rid of the spirits.
Yeah.
But I feel bad for her because it was her dream to fix up the home, just like the gentleman that owned the house before her, the one that fell down the stairs. It was his dream. So now Moss and I really want to fix up the home, not just for us, not just for the Dilgerts, but for the 2 previous owners too.
Right.
So we just feel like by getting it fixed up, we will grant the dreams of multiple people, not just ourselves. That's why we say we're just the current living custodians. So that is it for the washroom. Ready for the next one?
Oh yes.
Ma'am.
Okay. Step down.
Good thing you reminded me.
Are you to be nice today? Thank you. Alright, so you can kind of see where I lean for chores. It's like the one clean spot. I know, right? We are under the stairs for the Dilgert House, and this is the original doorway that connects the kitchen to this room. And you can see the strange floral wallpaper. It's the only area in the house that has this. It's actually a little piece of history. You'll see here it says the Joliet Wallpaper Mills Union Made. So this wallpaper was produced during the Civil War, and they put it under here to kind of spruce up and make the room a little happier. The reason why is this HVAC wouldn't have been here at that time. And so this was actually a very small room, and they would have had a cot in here, and this is where they kept Adam Dilgert before he passed away. See, when they amputated his left foot and then later on his left lower leg, he wouldn't have been able to go up and down the stairs anymore. He probably needed a substantial amount of time to heal. They put the wallpaper here to kind of spruce it up and make it a little happier. We actually found that bottle of laudanum shoved here under the stairs when we moved in. Moss noticed something glittering, and he's brave, so he like fished it out. I would have left it, but we've since tried to fill it in a little bit more with rocks. Yeah, that goes all the way back.
It does.
It's like my Harry Potter room at my house.
And we do know that this is original. You can see the craftsmanship in the way that the floor, the beams are cut. And then they have the same marks as the rest of the beams throughout the house. And then once again, all of our interior walls are brick, and so this is brick as well. So we do know that this is 100% original. And this is where they kept Adam. So the light behind you, there's a bucket on the floor. And the reasoning is, if we don't turn that light off at the end of the tour, sometimes we come down here the next day and the light bulb has been crushed, like physically broken. And then we have to hit the electrical panel, turn it off, get the pliers out, and unscrew it. So the bucket's just there to catch the glass in case we forget. That is our 13th light bulb.
13.
We've been getting really good about making sure we don't leave that on, so we haven't had any recent instances. But the reason why is Adam Dilgert, before he died, was taking laudanum. Laudanum was a great painkiller, but it also made you light sensitive. So we still think on the other side, he still views himself as being light sensitive. Now underneath this ugly wood paneling, which we have to have tore out one point when we get a contractor that stays, there is actually a limestone wall under that, so we do know that that is original to the house as well.
Is that a crawl space? Or?
It goes to the next room.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so you're going to do 2 steps up. Watch your head. So this is, sorry, just saw something like kind of, I love my house. So this is actually the coal room. This room was never dropped down all the way because it was never meant for habitation. You can see where they used to have the old coal bin on the floor, that's why it's all tore out. And then the coal chute would have been right about here where they filled it in with brick, kind of like they did with the cooking range as well. Once again, interior quality for all the limestone. This is Adam Dilgert's chair. We just kind of leave him a chair to sit down, take a load off. When groups do spend the night, they have to bring him cigarettes and whiskey as a peace offering, because that's the number one thing he asks for on the spirit box is he wants cigarettes and whiskey. A lot of images captured in this room are usually green orbs. I don't know the significance of why they're green, but we've had several groups capture green orbs in this room. Now we put the tile and the table out so that they can make words and communicate. It's kind of a good honor system. We assume that all people don't make words on their own. It's meant for the spirits. If you do find a word, record it down and then unscrabble it, move the tile so that it doesn't happen again. That's kind of the system we've been using. The biggest word they ever made was the word purple. We couldn't figure out what purple meant. And then the chamber had actually scheduled 2 tours at the same time for the first time ever when we started doing this. One lady in one group was a very strong medium/psychic. The other lady in the other group, her group showed up late. She was actually dressed in head to toe in purple. And the lady from the first group that was the medium looked at the lady in purple and said, "Your mother died 2 weeks ago of breast cancer." She goes, "I have a message for you. Could you step into the other room?" So I don't know how the house knew it, but somehow they knew that the lady in purple was coming. And there's just a lot of things that we can't explain living in a haunted house. Kind of like coincidences, no such thing exists anymore. And so somehow they knew. And we know that one thing for sure, everybody that comes to the Dilgert House is drawn to the Dilgert House for one reason or another. We may not know what that reason is today. We may not know what it is tomorrow, weeks, even months from now, but everyone is brought here for a specific purpose. So the fact that you 2 gentlemen are here today, it's by no accident. You were drawn here for a reason. Hopefully we'll find what that is. But the one gentleman that came through and sent us that lovely bottle, what were the odds that he would collect the exact same perfume bottles that,
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Everybody's tied to the house for a specific reason. Now if you look up, this is actually that stairwell that is in the hallway closet. So this was their dirty stairwell. So this stairwell actually came this way. You can see by that guiding stone at the bottom. It would have flowed this direction. So when Adam Dilgert put in 2 stairwells, a lot of people were like, well, why would he have 2 sets of stairs for the servants? Because that was the clean stairwell and this was the dirty stairwell because it was right in the coal room. And Adam Dilgert never wanted anything dirty to pass as food. And that would have been like chamber pots or buckets of coal. So during a time when they weren't washing their hands still, when they assisted in childbirth, and when they were making amputations in the battlefield, this guy had 2 separate stairwells just to make sure that nothing dirty passed as food. And that's why I say he was kind of a genius in his time. He was very much ahead of his time. We also know that he never laid anything out by accident. Even though we can't find blueprints, we know that everything was built in the home for a specific purpose that Adam Dilgert had. And that's what really makes us wonder about that room upstairs, because he built that room with the intention it was already for somebody. We just don't have a record of that person or persons. But I do know that he helped build the Union Soldiers and Sailors Orphanage here in town. I have documentation of that. A few people think that maybe he was bringing home orphans with disabilities and helping to take care of them. So there may have been multiple children in that room. We just need a very strong medium/psychic that can make contact to answer some of the questions.
Coming in soon, right?
We actually have a Zoom session with a world-renowned medium. His name is Jeffrey Wands. On the 28th at 1:30, I'm going to bring him through the whole house on Zoom so that he can try to make connections with the spirits. And then we get to record that session, and then we'll post it on our Facebook page as well.
Yeah, that's
But this
hard.
guy has published multiple books. He's been on Murray. He's been on multiple talk shows. I mean, he is very legitimate. And we're just very fortunate. He cut us a very decent price for doing the Zoom session. So I'm very grateful to Mr. Wands. We'll just have to see what he has to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely watching that.
No, for real. I'm gonna be in tune for that.
All right, come on through. So you can see where they broke through the original limestone wall. As you can feel, it's not very cold down here, and we're like in the middle of winter. The reason why
No,
is
for
look
real,
at the
it's
thickness of
pretty
these
good.
walls. They were all this thick in the entire basement. So that's another reason why we don't have a lot of signs of settling, is Dilgert built this house to last. I mean, he really did. He was truly a master stonemason, just like he was advertised as. All right, come on through. Watch your head. You're going to meet the last spirit of the house. And aside from Bertha, I think Benjamin's probably everybody's like second favorite spirit. So Benjamin's story was he was a little servant boy who lived in the servant's house in the back with his mom and the gardener. And Benjamin's job was to kind of help the gentleman that took care of the grounds with outdoor stuff, but he would also help his mom with indoor tasks like laundry, dishes, cooking, cleaning, stuff like that. We don't know why Benjamin's still here. He just never really left. He will move these little cars. We line them up at the line, and he's never gotten past the pole, but he's gotten halfway. He does have cat balls, so if he wants to light these up. Oh my goodness, we just put these down here. You having a strobe party without us? All right, so that one doesn't work. This one still goes. One of the first things we asked Benjamin on Spirit Box is, how old are you? Can you tell us how old you are? How old are you, Benjamin? The energy amped up on someone's meter like all the way into the red, so I think he was getting upset. His response on Spirit Box was, I do not know how old I am, for I never had a party. Yeah. So Halloween Eve, when the veil was thinnest, we actually threw him a birthday party. We sang him happy birthday. We brought him a piece of cake. We lit the candle. And a couple people sent him some gifts on Amazon. Like these 2 balls came from a lovely lady on Amazon. If you tap them, they light up as well. He's a very active, engaging little spirit. If you do the SLS app, you'll see his little skeleton structure. If you do a dance, he'll actually mirror the dance back to you.
Yeah, that's our next purchase.
Yeah, that's the next.
If you wave to him, he'll wave back. He'll actually play hide and go seek with you. When we were having digging parties for the people that came out to help find the body, they would actually bring their kids down here and they would read to him. They would color. They would play with toys. And he showed himself to one little girl. And she goes, he looks just like Trenton. I said, I don't know who Trent is. Right. So I ended up having to watch like 30 minutes of a school play to see Trent. And Trent was mixed. And so we think that maybe Benjamin's dad had been affiliated with the family, but not necessarily Adam Dilgert himself.
Are you having an affair?
I don't know.
I'm saying maybe.
Maybe, it's a possibility. But we left this cake down here, and it has not molded. It has not changed. It has pretty much just stayed the same.
How old is it?
Since Halloween.
That's some good preservatives.
That's what I'm saying. So
that's some McDonald's shit right there.
Sorry, Benjamin. But now we just kind of leave it down here because it's a symbol for Benjamin's first birthday. And like I said, he's a very sweet spirit. I've seen 3 of them since we've moved in, and Benjamin's probably the one that I wish I could see the most because I'm a teacher. I love kids. Kids are awesome. And he's the one spirit I have not seen yet. So I saw Adam the first night we moved in. I saw Bertha Dilgert. And then a few weeks after that, I was watching TV in the living room. It was like 3 a.m. And I saw someone just kind of float past the doorway. And I did bad math. I was like, is it the cats? Nope, all 3 of them were with me. We didn't have the dog. So I was like, if it's not the cats, and I'm like adding people up, and I'm like, is it Moss? And he's in the bedroom snoring. I can hear him. So when I looked in the hallway, there was a young lady about the same age as the kids I teach. From the waist up, she was a full-on apparition. From the waist down, she had no legs. It was just mist. And she had beautiful hair. I never saw her face. But she was just floating through the hall until she got to the kitchen, and then she disappeared. So as Moss pointed out the next day, the kitchen is where the original house ended. So she just simply went out the back door. And I found out later on that that would be Frances Dilgert. And she was Ferdinand's granddaughter. And she wore lilac perfume in life, and I have all that research upstairs. And so that's why the gentleman brought us the lilac perfume, is to symbolize for Frances. I think Frances, like Mary, is also a residual haunting. I don't even think she's aware that we're here. She doesn't acknowledge us, she doesn't make contact, but she is still part of the house.
Yeah.
And then the very last spirit we'll talk about, number 9, is our shadow man. We don't know who he is. We don't know what he wants. He's never made direct contact. But people like yourselves who record or take pictures will capture him in the background, or they'll actually capture images of him moving against the walls in the background. In stature, he looks like a man's shadow with a hat. So,
A top hat or?
top hat.
Yeah.
So we don't know who he is or what he wants, but that is our ninth spirit in the house. Like I've said, we've been told by multiple people there are 21 total, but only 9 that we've captured or have made contact with so far. And that is the end of the tour. And then all I have left is research whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Adam and Ferd had actually married a set of sisters.
Your camera just died?
Yeah, as soon as you explain it, it just stopped.
Tap the light now, if you can.
Oh my gosh, it just turned on.
Oh, hey, thank you. This is awesome.
Dude, an orb just flew past the camera.
Yeah?
Yeah, bro. Please don't touch my back.
No, there's nobody on your back, bro. You feel
Shit got my heart racing.
Okay.
Right.
Wow, okay. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
What I'd like to know is, where is the key on the door that's inside this closet?
I just heard a fucking scream, dude.
Oh shit.